Interviews with haunting gurus.
Open wide as we take a bite out of the rotten apple. 907 Haunt featured in the movie Epic Home Haunts. Joining me in the dungeon are the co-conspirators, Preston and Diane, joined with their daughter. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Melissa.
Probably should have done that before we started recording. That's all right. Got it now. All right, you guys are located in Burbank, California. Isn't The Price is Right recorded in Burbank?
It used to be.
It used to be. Yeah. Like I heard the name and I'm like, oh my God, I have that like ringing in my head from when I was a kid.
For those of ancient people around,
I know, no kidding. Bob is long gone now. Okay, so how long has the haunt been in operation?
This will be our 29th year.
Wow. Yeah, like I was looking at some of the YouTube videos, and I think I only went back. I think went back to like 2003. So
that's as early as we have a video of it.
Before all the Facey Bookie and YouTubey and all that fancy stuff.
Yeah, we don't really have even pictures of.
We have Polaroids.
Yeah, further back.
When you had to go to the photo mat, drop off your film. So 29 years. So how did you get into it? How did you start?
Well, basically, my daughter was born on October 26th. And
26th?
26th.
That's the same as mine. Happy birthday.
Okay.
So it's her fault.
So we started having Halloween-flavored birthday parties for her. And we'd invite her friends in, but before they came to the party, they'd have to go through the haunted house that we built in our living room. And we had all the standard stuff with dry ice smoke and noodles and peeled grapes and all that kind of gunk that they had to stick their hands in before they'd come to the party. And, well, we started having it on Halloween. And so the trick-or-treaters that would come to the door, they didn't want the candy that we're trying to give them. They wanted to come into the haunted house. What's in there? I want to go in there. I want to see that. So for 5 or 6 years at least, we actually had the haunt inside the house. We went through the living room to the kitchen, or the dining room to the kitchen, to the hallway, and then back out the front door again.
You guys were like Roseanne.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We still have screws in the ceiling where we screwed tarps up, built up to make dividers.
That was like the first couple of years. When did it get to a point where it moved outside? And what's that?
When we decided to fill the entire front room in dirt. We made an indoor cemetery, and so we lined the floor with plastic. We flipped a couch over. And covered the whole room in dirt. After that year, my mom was like, "Nope, take it outside."
I'm surprised she let you do that to begin with. Now, was this just the three of you who were involved?
Pretty much so, yeah.
So when it moved outside, did you start gaining other helpers along the way?
Yeah, we've gone through several different helpers. My relatives and family friends and different people have come and gone over the years. But the three of us have basically been the mainstay. Melissa even one year said, "I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this." But she was back the next year.
Yeah.
And, she couldn't wait.
I couldn't do it.
Keep sucking you back in.
Yeah.
Right now we have like 3 or 4 other people that have been helping us for the last probably 7 years or so that are diehards that help us out. I guess it's 3 of them and 4. And so they've been with us for like 7 years or so.
Yeah, not more.
Yeah. And then of course Melissa's husband, whenever he's not busy doing other things, he comes and helps.
Of course, that's a marriage requirement.
Yes.
As part of their ceremony, I had the minister stop the ceremony right in the middle before, right at the point where they say, "Does anybody have anything that, they want to say about this?" says, well, yes, I have this contract that you need to sign before we go through with this.
Yes.
So I have a contract signed by him that says he's not going to infringe upon Halloween.
You can't. He can't have a competing haunt. We could not have any babies during Halloween. What else?
So that was like a prenup. That was
Pretty much, yeah. Day of,
Yeah.
in case
Melissa's
of divorce,
like, "Mom,
we get
what are you
all
doing?"
these props are mine, and
yeah, pretty much, yeah. It was funny.
the thing that I find most amazing about your haunt is that the fact that you pretty much turn the entire thing out. You do a new theme. You completely rebuild the entire haunt every single year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've only repeated once or twice.
Once, I think it was.
And even then we changed it.
And even then the theme was the same, but the inside was completely different.
Yeah, we changed all but one room was totally different.
Did that start at a certain point? Were you doing, originally, you've been doing this for 29 years. So originally, not when you were inside, but when you moved outside, did you run with just one thing or like have a Haunt 57, everything thrown together at first? Or you right out of the gate themed and change it up every year from that point on?
We've always had one theme for each year.
Even when we were in the house, we were doing themes. And when we got outside, we really got into doing things that people would recognize, and so they could buy into the experience.
It's a massive amount of work. So how do you even make it happen? I mean, you say there's the three of you. Mm-hmm. Melissa, your husband kind of joins in on the fun, and you have 3 or 4 die-hard helpers who help to build. So pretty much you've got about 6, 7, maybe 8 people tops helping you rebuild the haunt every single year.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's it.
And it usually only we cannot start because we don't have, our backyard is full of garbage, so there's no room to build back there. So the haunt does not actually start. Nothing usually gets built until the beginning of September. And so we work every single day and every weekend from September 1st until Halloween, until we open, which is usually a couple weeks before Halloween.
It's not garbage. It's good stuff. It's stuff that we use all the time.
There's a lot of garbage in the back.
Mixed in with other good stuff.
There's a limited room, so we can't build stuff. And we have cranky neighbors, so we only have a limited time. So we've got that 2 months to build anything that we're going to build. So if we're going to, like when we begin the big clown face and all that, we couldn't start it till September because we had no place to build it.
That was another question I had for you. I was assuming that you were building the haunt off-site in a shop or something and then bringing it back and assembling it. No, everything is September 1, straight through, nonstop building.
Yeah, some of the smaller things, sometimes we can get away with building in the backyard, like some of the smaller mechanisms, but most of the walls and the big things all are done September to October.
We do have walls that are over in storage that we've used, but then we repurpose every year. They're walls that we have and that we repurpose them to whatever we need them to be. But we start basically from scratch every year.
What about the pneumatic things that you have? What you have a good mix of actors and animatronics. Those are also, you wait until September to work on those, or are those being worked on earlier in the year?
Usually.
Sometimes some of those are done like the last 2 weeks before because it's like we're too busy getting everything else ready. But some of them are repurposed from year to year and just switched around, and some of them are brand new. And he's our pneumatics guy.
The coverings and stuff like that, usually she ends up doing. But a lot of the actions are just repurposed. We already have standard actions. Oh, we need a pop-up. Okay, what are we going to just put on top of it? Or, but like the dragon and stuff, we had to build that up from scratch. And it happened within a month or a couple weeks before the haunt opened.
Yeah, I think that was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty cool. And it was huge. How high did that stand? How big was that, roughly?
7 feet high, 8 feet high when it came up and over. And then the wingspan was about 6 or 7 feet.
How was that constructed?
It was basically a commercial 4-bar action that we bought and we've had around. And then I built on top of that another action that held the wings. And the wings were made out of, don't ever throw anything away, because the wings were made out of scrap pop-up tent tubing. You know, the metal tubing that the pop-up tents are made out of makes really great lightweight rods for wings and things. And then the neck I made out of Simpson post brackets, and it was actually articulated. It was kind of like a tentacle action where the head would go up and down and sideways.
Somebody had to trigger it, or did somebody just hit a button? Did you have somebody working the control or something?
Our princess triggered it.
Our princess triggered it. It was Preston.
Yeah,
Now,
I was sitting on the throne in front of the dragon, and I had buttons underneath the throne, and there were like 3 different buttons to control it. So I would sit there, and when the people would come in, I could actually control the thing without them seeing it. And it was up and down, and the wings out, and the head moved back and forth, and I could control that also right when they were there, so I could tailor it to the customer.
So who kind of handles the set designs mostly? Does everybody just pitch in, or do you have like someone who's your set designer?
Melissa usually do.
Yeah, well, it's always like a team effort. We sit down, at the beginning of the year or wherever, we get an idea. Okay, this is what we have. This is kind of the idea we have. Let's walk through what we could put in it, what we could do, what kind of effects we can do, and then her and I kind of like, okay, the visual of what it's going to look like. But then when it comes to like the day of like actually building the stuff and making it look right, that's her mostly. I handle costumes.
Yeah, she handles more of the costume stuff, and I handle more of the rest of the set decor.
Now, did you just constantly just keep accumulating when you're talking about the junk in the backyard? Are these just all the stuff that you've been accumulating? You just keep accumulating, thinking, we could use this at some point. We do a hunt, somewhere in the next 5 or 10 years, we could probably use this. So you just grab it and kind of put it in the back, and then eventually you go, okay, this is the room we need. Let's just rummage through what we have and put. I mean, it looks so much more put together than that. But
we try not to.
The stuff in the backyard is literally junk.
No, it's not.
Well, right now it's
the
all
dragons in the back.
Well, one man's junk, is another man's treasure.
It's all full of MSS panels.
Yeah, right now we're building panels for Midsummer Scream, so that's right in the backyard right now, but it's a lot of things like all the actions and all that kind of stuff, and we have PVC pipes are all over the place, and all the lumber and all that stuff. Our main storage of stuff, we have a storage yard out several miles away. I don't know how many miles away. It's quite a ways, and about an hour away. And that holds all of our panels and props that, like we have an organ out there. I don't know if it works because it was part of the flood, so I don't know. But some bigger items and stuff like that. We don't keep our pneumatic stuff out there because we can't trust whether it's safe or not to leave them there. Most of the other stuff, someone's going to say, why do we need an old couch? Some of that. So that's safe out there. We have another garage that's here locally in Burbank that houses some of the little prop things, like little gargoyles or dolls or,
skeleton heads
and all that kind
body
of stuff.
parts.
And here at the house, we have a lot of like the building stuff. And we actually have a swimming pool in our backyard, but I got tired of it always not being cleaned. So we drained the pool, and it now houses Halloween storage. We built a deck over the top of it, and in the pool is vacuum form panels. And so so now we can work on top of the pool, so we have actually room in the backyard.
Now, where's the main workshop? Is it in the basement or garage or something, or
Just the backyard.
Mostly outside.
Just wherever we can find room
drag
outside.
everything out? Well, you can do that because you have great weather year round. So.
Except for this year. Yeah. This year it won't quit raining.
Do you already know what you're doing for this coming year? Do you already have the theme put together?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Do we get a sneak peek or no?
Yeah, we can do that. We actually have themes kind of in process for sometimes 4 or 5 years where when we're theorizing about stuff and brainstorming, say, oh, that would be a really great haunt, or this would be really great. And then, like, we started off this year as about 3 years ago wanting to do a capsized ship. The whole haunt was going to be the inside of a capsized ship. And, well, actually started sideways. It was just on its side and not capsized. And we were thinking, oh, well, how's that going to work? And what's going to happen? So then it got capsized totally. Then it was up on the rocks. And so now I think we finally settled on it's an old sailing ship in the middle of a jungle that's up on the ground. And you're just going to walk into it.
So how are you going to do that? You're going to build the front of the ship off the the front of the house, and just they kind of go through a hole in the hull or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are so ambitious. I've been running the same haunt theme for like 12 years. And I have no plans on changing it anytime in the near future. I just keep adding things or taking things out, putting a new thing in, and just kind of rotating things around. Or, like I told myself last year, I'm not building anything new. And then I went crazy in July and just worked it through the next couple of months. I told myself the same thing this year. I'm really not going to make any purchases, any major purchases on props or anything. But I know I'll start working on like one thing, and then I'll start 5 other projects, which is pretty typical. But I do everything myself. Like, I don't have any help. So it's a completely different scenario. I have to keep things kind of easier. I just don't have the bodies around here. My kids are all in college. I had helpers, but they come and go. You know how it is. But I haven't... Even when I have people that have been with me for 5 years, like even last year, the guy kind of helped out at the front and did flow control and welcomed people in and kind of did all that. He bailed on me, and he'd been with me for like 5 years, and he always had a great time. And then he just said, he had some excuse. I was like, oh, man, if I lose him, I can't count on anyone, man.
No.
We have a couple of them. We have one that was our building guy. Like, he was one of our go-to building guys, and he was like responsible for the structure and everything. And then he's like, okay, I'm moving to New York. And we're like, no, wait. No, you're not.
Why would you go to New York?
Yeah.
And then we have a couple of, and you know how life is, and people get sick, or people actually have lives other than Halloween. I can't imagine why, but so then our help is a hit and miss. So us 3 and stuff are the mainstay, and then Martin is usually pretty good. He's usually here, and Galen is, and we have one guy, Hector, that basically does all our sound, runs all of our speakers, our audio. We have cameras throughout the haunt, so that way the fire department loves us because we can, if there's a problem, we can get people out. And then we have the camera, so he can trigger some of the things from inside the house. And so we have an office, and that whole area is like the headquarters, and everything, all the wires are run into our house, and he can control things in there. And he comes in and runs wires. Now, last year, he had the nerve to have a baby. And
How dare he?
And so he's going, and I want to go and trick or treat with my child. Hello, how can you go and do this on Halloween? And we were laughing, going, no, and stuff. So we had to, thank goodness her husband was free, so he helped us out in the office and do that. So we do have the problems that, as if people get sick and they can't, some years we have a whole lot of help. Other years it's just, very few. So it's a hit and miss.
I'm going to run through some of the haunts that you had from the last couple of years. And there was a few kind of props and kind of gimmicks and stuff that you had in there that I was curious about. So 2013, you did, is it Wellesley Manor? It was more of a Victorian haunted house.
Yeah.
How did that Ouija board gag work?
That worked pretty good. We had, actually it was pneumatic. We had 2 air cylinders hooked up to it, and they drive each other so that there were actually 4 stable points that you could put it on. But by just pulsing it a little bit at a time, you could get it to go just about anywhere you wanted. And then that was tied into the controller that we use so that the actor in the room would push one button and then the whole scenario would work through. The skeletons would talk to each other and ask the Ouija board questions, and then the Ouija board would respond. And then just as soon as they thought that, okay, that was over and they're out of the room, then a burnt body would pop out of the fireplace. And that was all run through one controller.
Hey, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how you did explain the Ouija board thing again. I just want to get the concept. You said that there was some pistons that were moving.
Yeah, it's 2 air cylinders.
2 air cylinders, okay.
So the one cylinder would go in and out and kind of push the planchette diagonally. And then the other cylinder was connected to...
So they were underneath it?
Underneath it, yeah.
Okay.
And it was hooked up magnetically. There was a magnet.
Oh, it's a magnet. Okay, I figured it had to be some kind of a magnet. Okay, now I got it. There was a portrait in, like, I guess the living room. It looked like Peter Cushing. Was that Peter Cushing?
Atmosphere effects. I think it was the Unliving Portraits or one of those.
Yeah. So we're not beneath us to go buy stuff if it fits.
Hey, if it works.
How could you not? I mean, I've never tried to make something like that. I'm not great with, like, I can do a little bit with Illustrator. I can do a little bit with, like, some of the other, like I use iMovie. I need to get into using the Adobe movie editor. What the hell's the name of that?
Or After Effects?
Something like that. I don't.
Yeah.
Obviously, I need to move from iMovie to that because it's so much more robust and you could do so much more with it. That's one of the things I want to do over the next couple of months. I'm finally got motivated now that Transworld, I'm seeing all the pictures and videos coming in from Transworld. So it's like, all right, now I'm motivated. I've been putting that off for 6 months or whatever. It's time to get to work.
That's what's driven us all these years, because it's a reason to get into all of this stuff, the pneumatics and the set decorating and the costuming. Otherwise, why would you be doing what we're doing? Why would I build a dragon, just for myself? No, but if it's for the haunt, okay, that's okay.
Yeah, you don't seem too psychotic because you can say, it's for this haunted thing. So, I do like it. I like to be that, like, the Renaissance person where, you're doing the video editing and you need to make a haunt design or, like a little logo for your haunt. You're taking pictures outside. So I've learned photography. I'm actually really solid at night photography. I'm not that great in the day, just because I only really use the camera when I'm taking pictures of my haunt out at night. But the pneumatics, learning VSA, learning a little of this, little of that. You're like, the skill set is so diverse. It's insane.
We bought a camera several years ago just so we could film the haunt, and so it worked better in light, and got a little bit more expensive camera, and so. Last year, it was and we needed to record it. So I had a friend, and Preston was in the haunt, and says, "Can you use this camera? Can you record for us now?" Chris and Gina, Hollywood Haunters. And so I handed the camera to Chris, and I says, "Can you film?" Because they film their stuff all the time, so I figure I'm safe. And he's going, "How do you use it?" I'm going, I don't know. and so then I'm getting Preston out of the haunt and Preston's go, oh, geez, I got to remember how we did this. So here we are. People are waiting in line to go through, and we're trying to figure out how to work the camera so they can film it.
Now, you have a setup. What do you have? One of those little security camera type setups where you have, in a number of different rooms, all going back to like a DVR or something so you can record it and watch and see everything that's going on?
Yeah.
In theory, we never have a chance to actually go back and watch any of them, but yeah.
I've wanted to do that setup, but I don't want to get into my thing. I had like a small walkthrough, but have problems with the town. I kind of worked a way around doing some kind of a walkthrough, but I can't put up the 4x8 panels because they're wood. I need to do like PVC frames with tarps to get around the structure issues. Actually, since we're on that, how many people did you have go through last year? Like, what's your throughput or your body count? I guess it's being more appropriate.
Yeah, body count. I think in the 5 days we had 5,000 people.
Wow.
Something to that effect. 4,000.
Yeah, 4 or 5,
4 or
500, yeah,
something like that.
So what do you do? You do the 2 weekends prior to Halloween and then Halloween night kind of a thing?
basically.
Yeah. And then we usually try to do one more night, which is Haunters Night, the following Saturday, right after whenever Halloween is. We try to do Haunters Night because we have, like us, we never get to see anybody's haunt because we're always at our haunt. So we always try to have one extra night so that way our friends and stuff can come see the haunt that don't get a chance to see it because they're busy.
How do you deal with the neighbors and the town? Because I only get like 300 people one night a year. Well, I might have had up to 5 last year. And I've got problems with my neighbors. I'm dancing around trying to, trying to prevent the town from shutting me down. So how do you guys pull it off?
Well, over the years, we've tried to make things as easy as we can for the neighbors, and most of the neighbors support us. There's 1 or 2 or 3 that don't like us, and one threatened us, "I'm going to do everything I can to shut you down." But actually, she did us a favor because the first year she was here, she called the fire department on us, and they were going to close down entirely until I invited them in and actually look at what I had in the haunt. And they were doing their inspection, and about halfway through the haunt, there was 3 firemen, and they looked at each other and go, "Are we going to tell this guy that he needs to do anything that he hasn't already done?" And they go, "No." So he pointed his finger at me and says, "Next year, get a permit." So ever since then, we've been getting a permit. And so now the city actually authorizes us, and we've got a city permit to be open to certain hours, and we have to have the stuff out of the property at a certain time and on the property at a certain time. So it's a little bit of a hassle that way, but it's quieted down some of the complaints because we can say, "Look, the city's approved us."
Yeah.
We have fire marshals come through and check everything out, and we're always above what their standards would be anyways, so
we get away with a little bit more because we do have the cameras, so they know that we've got somebody watching 24/7, so that helps them eliminate. The year that the fire marshals first came through, it just happened to be the year that we got emergency lights, and they had them on sale at Harbor Freight, so we thought, this is probably a good idea. We always had put fire extinguishers in there and stuff, and we always had extra emergency exits, so that wasn't a problem. But that year we happened to have the emergency lights put up and go, oh, okay, so they saw that we had everything that they required. We've had one neighbor that has tried various different methods to get us shut down over the years. And a few years it got pretty they went to the city manager, and then the city manager called all the heads of everybody around, and we got into a big meeting. And so then he got the head fire chief all riled up and all this. So for several years it was a little touch and go. But right now everybody's kind of got our back. And 2 years ago we got a certificate from the city because it was our 28th proclamation and stuff from the city. So we still have our neighbors that will crank. They will call the fire. They will call the city on us. We were building some stuff for Midsummer Scream last year for the convention, and our neighbors are going, okay, we have no place in back, so we're building them out in front. And we had some of these big, tall towers that were, 16 feet in the air, and the neighbors called the city on us. So the city came and said, you got to take it behind the fence. Unless it's September, then you can have it out in front. But up until then, you got to. So the neighbors even try all year round to get us, in trouble. So
and we do our best to try to be aware of the impact on them. So closing down early, stopping to use power tools at 8 o'clock or something like a reasonable time, where it's not going to be. Try to limit the impact as much as possible on them.
Yeah. Do you actually go through the process of soaking and spraying everything with fire retardant and doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, responsible haunters. I like it.
Well, I'm always afraid. I mean, right now the fire department's being really good, so I might, there's always the times you think, oh, well, I may not have to, because it's a lot of money to do it and stuff. But the one time I don't do it, they'll change our fire inspector and we'll be screwed. And so I mean, was it last year or year before? We had a whole bunch of bushes and stuff like that. You have to go spray that sucker 5 times, and then you got to go check and make sure each branch is not still, because we found out that there's certain branches off of trees that contain more oil, that you have to treat them 6 times more than other branches. So I found out a whole lot.
The first year we did fire treating, it was Wizard of Oz. And so we had the farmhouse. So across the sidewalk, we had a row of corn stalks. And there was a farm nearby that we actually bought corn stalks from. And so we're sitting there, and they're all dried out. So I figured, how flammable are these? So I held a match to one of the corn stalk, and it blew up instantly. Okay, we'll try fire coating.
Yeah.
So we sprayed it with a fire retardant and let it soak in, and sprayed it again, and it dried. And it was all nice and dry, and we stuck a match to it, and it would burn a little bit with a match on it. But as soon as you took the match away, the flames would go out. So the stuff really does work, and that's the test. It's okay if it burns. It just can't burn by itself.
Yeah.
Keep burning.
I'm imagining this dried out Christmas tree that me and my friends, when we were kids, we were screwing around, and we're like, they're always saying these things going to catch on fire. That's BS. So we put a lighter to it, and the thing went because it was it was brown at that point. So I mean, all the pine needles were brown, but it just went we were like, holy shit, we couldn't believe how fast it went up, and then we're like, that's why it burns down houses. So there you go.
We've actually trained our fire department, because our fire department has never done, up until us, they have never had to worry. They didn't worry about haunted houses. We kind of threw them into a monkey wrench. And so they never had a permit or any of that kind of stuff. They started it up with us. And so they didn't know anything about fireproof black plastic or any of that stuff. And so we went through the second year, and it says, okay, this is what we're going to use. We had some black plastic we're going to use for ceiling. I took a sample of it and gave them the specs and all this. They're going, oh, there's really such a thing? So then they started going around to all the other haunted houses that they were shutting down for the black plastic and saying, oh, go over there and have, talk to them. They know where to go get it. So they were sending all the other Burbank haunts that were getting shut down to us so they could get the right plastic so they could reopen.
Now, these were home haunts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many other haunts are there in the area?
Not that many, but
Used to be maybe 8 or 10 around, but it's gone up and down over the years. There's 3 or 4, maybe only 2 now.
Well, there's some other.
There's 2 or 3 major ones.
What are their names?
There's Backwoods Maze, and then there's more of a show that's over on Pepper Street. Or not Pepper Street.
No, can't remember. There's several of them around, but I don't really. There's somebody.
Backwoods Maze is the next. It's kind of like our
Second runner-up.
No. But there's somebody else that we belong to the Halloween group Cow Haunts, and somebody else joined that's from Burbank, and I'm going, oh, okay, it's,
yeah. There's several around.
Yeah.
For a while, there was a whole lot. It was like every other street had some kind of display or walkthrough or something.
But most of those, a lot of those went out of business or only lasted a couple of years, and then they folded up.
They just didn't have the dedication, the passion. You got to have that passion. Okay, just bounce back to the 2013 haunt. You also had one of the things I noticed that I really liked, and this is because the first haunted attraction that I ever went through when I was a kid had the upside down room. So I remember going in there and going like, wow. And I don't know, it's not that impressive, but I really liked it, and it brings back that memory of that first haunt I ever went through as a kid. And I like they had the guy or person, the actor who was in there, who looked like he was standing on his hands upside down.
Yeah.
It was like had the upside down costume on, and he jumps down off the table, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That was really actually mentally very hard to work out. Because
it's a lot harder.
We thought, okay,
more challenging than I expected.
Yeah, we happened to watch the movie Rose Red, and it has the upside down room. We're like, oh, we could do that. And so let's do that. That should be interesting. So we found that, okay, we'll get a dining room table and mount it to the ceiling. Okay. Well, did we find a lightweight dining room table? No, somebody down the road had this really nice dining room table that was heavy as all hell and stuff. And so we hooked it up to the ceiling and put airbags on it, so it jumped up and down. And stuff. But to figure out how this all works and the paneling on the wall, okay, it's got to be the opposite of what normally is, and then when we decided to put the actor in, and it was okay, its feet are actually have to be by its head, and it's and so it got to be. We have never laughed so hard because picture trying to figure out where the head was going to be, which is actually the fake head had to be this crop. So you can picture what happened here. Every time we had to deal with this costume, we were rolling on the ground laughing, and because this guy's got a head right in his crotch and wandering around, and
I'm sitting there standing the crotch of the pants so that way you can see through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So because the fly is in the pants is where his actual head was, so she had to make sure he could see through it, so he could see where he was going, and that was really exciting.
In the 2014 haunt, you had the House of Fun. Where did you get that? Was that a real bumper car?
She carved it. She carved it out of foam.
Did you really? How did you get it to move all over the place that?
It was on a furniture dolly.
Oh, so it was just like pushing it around with the feet, or whoever was in the thing.
The Flintstone car.
It seemed so much more high tech. I couldn't wait to find out. I'm like, oh, it's just a dolly.
Built up like a little seat on it, so he had some place to sit down, and then built the foam, put a platform and built the foam all around it, carved it to make it look like a bumper car, and he just sat there.
Well, the funny part is the first night of the haunt, he went, and the actor that was there, he came in and he's like dripping wet,
totally soaked in sweat.
And he's going, it's so much fun, but it's really getting hard. Well, the wheels had seized up, so he was like working 6 times harder, and we didn't know what he was doing until later on. We happened to see
night, actually.
We watched a video, and we didn't realize he was going so far with this little car that we were going. No wonder he's dying.
It was one of those Harbor Freight dollies, I bet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
2016, the Not So Enchanted Forest. Well, this was like a twisted fairy tale kind of whatever you call it theme. I really like the Little Red Riding Hood who pops out, has the decapitated wolf head. That was great. There was one point in there that you had some kind of a light effect where it was in the Pigsville area. And it was like this kind of weird scattered red like light flecks, like that were kind of all over the place. Like, what was that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
One of those standard old crystal lights that you can buy every place in the world now. What do they call it?
The fire and ice?
The fire and ice lights.
Oh, okay.
It was behind.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, they sell them at Spirit, but now they sell them at Home Depot and all over the place now. That first year, actually the ones from Spirit, the first year we bought them, actually have the better light. And the year we did the House of Fun, the big clown arch that you walked through, we put the fire and ice. We built eyes and put the fire ice in there, and they give off a better light than the ones at Home Depot and stuff. But I don't know if you can still buy them the same way at Spirit, or if they've changed them. But our favorite ones are the ones that were from Spirit store. They're more money, of course, but yeah.
I'm ashamed as a haunter that I've never come across that before. I don't know how I've not ever stumbled across that.
Well, they've got really cool because they've got very different colors. They've got green, and then they've got blue, and like we're going to use some of the blue for water effects and stuff like that. And so they've got a lot of different colors now. So
yeah.
They put out some cool effects.
How did you make the? It looked like there was a thatched roof, or almost like grass coming off the walls or down from the ceiling. What was that? Was that real, or was that?
No, it was Hawaiian grass skirts, raffia that you can buy at the party stores, and we just go through and glue that on, and just some hot glue. Just lay the skirt, put a bead of hot glue, and then put the skirt on and press it down, and then cut it off where you need it, and then relayer it.
Unless you're talking about the cave, which was in between the pig and the gingerbread house, and that actually was sod that we bought and let it grow out and then put it on top of the wood framework.
You went out and bought sod.
Yeah.
No kidding. There was a lot of cool, like, rock work. I'm not sure if it was that haunter or one of your others. How did you go about creating that?
That's pretty much all foam sheets that's cut up. The craggy rocks are big chunks of foam. The kind of stonework is just 1-inch sheets of white styrofoam with the mortar lines cut into it.
There was an excellent, one of my favorite pneumatics that I've seen in your haunts. There was like a charred body that came out of a brick oven, kind of a cool little thing. I just really dug it, And was there anything special on how that worked?
Well, we picked up the ironwork one place or another. It was really cool. It was. It's actually the back end of the chimney. It's how you cleaned out the ashes, but we've used it as the fireplace itself. But that action actually is the same action that we used in the Wisley Manor in the seance room, and it was the same charred body that would come out. It's basically the standard 4-bar action mounted upside down so it comes out instead of up.
Yeah.
And again, that was all controlled with a proximity controller where the people would walk by and it would come out.
That wasn't a real suit of armor, was it? Or was it some kind of a...
Yeah.
Was it? Where'd you pick that up?
Totally real, but it was metal. It was a
replica.
A fixed piece. It was a display piece. It wasn't. Yeah.
We had a friend that had it, and he used to have a haunt over in Pasadena, and he has a bunch of stuff, and he says, "I've got a suit of armor," because we were going to try to make one. And in fact, we did one year. We did make one. One of our actors was in a suit of armor, and he made it himself.
He was a Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz.
He was also a suit of armor.
Yeah.
And so he had already made it, but we needed one, and so this guy loaned us the suit of armor. We borrowed it a couple times, but I think he sold it now, so we're screwed the next time.
Yeah, there was a great. I think in your portal haunt, they had you had a really great pop up. It was like a bloody smile face that pops up, and the steam or fog shoots out.
Yeah.
Another prop that I really liked, was it a mechanism you built? Did you buy it?
Was that the bicycle pump?
Was that all it was?
Well, we've used various things over the years, and I think that was pretty much a standard, just straight up hooked to the cylinder directly.
You just popped it right up.
Yeah.
One of the best. I had my first trash can trauma that I made, which was pretty much it was definitely my first pneumatic prop that I ever got into. I remember seeing it for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, I have to find this thing. I offered, some guy had a video on YouTube, and I asked him, hey, how much would you make one for? And he's like, you can just make it yourself. He's like, I'm too busy. I just built this for me. And then I went through and tried to figure out the process. Now, at that point, I wasn't into using real cylinders. I was looking on the monsters list where everything was like a solenoid that was pulled out of a washing machine, hooked up to like a piece of PVC that you drilled a hole into, and you play all that nonsense that would explode and probably kill someone. But I did build from a Huffy bike pump that I grabbed from Home Depot, and I plugged it. I'm telling you, the action on that was unbelievable. I had used just one of those green plastic trash cans with the plastic top, and I had it hooked up where I like cable tied 2 pieces on the lid, and I used just like a little bungee cord on the inside to pull it back down when it popped up. But the thing would blow out with so much force. It was like the best startle pop ever. And I finally, I bought like a more heavy duty one off of Brent from DC Props. And it just wasn't the same. It's like great. And it does things the other thing couldn't do, like could make it bounce up and down, like you can make the body kind of come up and jerk around. You couldn't do that with the bike pump. But I'll tell you, that for that $8 bike pump,
well,
I got more mileage out of that thing. So
yeah, we still use ours. It was one of our first builds with Calhounts. We joined the Calhounts group. It was one of the first builds that they did that after we joined, and we still occasionally will pull it out, and we know that it's probably not all that safe, but it's worked all these years, so we haven't killed anybody yet. So
yet. There was a skeleton horse that kind of raises up and then drops back down again, and you had like the legs even kind of were on hinges or something. And how did that whole mechanism work?
That's actually the horse from Home Depot.
Yeah.
And the one that they sold. And we actually corpsed it, and we were using it. We had bought it for our hearse that we no longer have. And and so then we had corpsed it and used it at Midsummer Scream. And he had put pneumatics in it to make it raise.
You build a steel frame with a big air cylinder on it, so it would go up and down.
What stroke?
It's about a 14-inch stroke, and had cable tying it to the arm that makes it go up and down. And so it's actually a fairly simple action on it.
Well, for the view from the video, I'm sure that also it seems like it's going up higher than it probably does, but it does. The appearance that I got, it was like, wow, that's really getting some lift. And it's probably a couple of feet?
No, it went up about 4 foot.
Oh, it did? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was almost straight up and down about 45 degrees when it was up. So the head was up probably 9 or 10 feet.
It was up higher when he first built it, but then we had we made it for Midsummer Scream, and we wanted the Headless Horseman on it, and the Headless Horseman was falling off. So we had to change it a little bit, and figuring, okay, that guy couldn't stay on if it was that way, so we had to lower it down a little bit. And then didn't you have something for the legs so they would move too?
Yeah.
You had some pneumatics there.
Is there also a trigger that fires that, or do you have somebody hitting a button? that's in the room.
Yeah, that was actually run by the guy in the control center, because you could see the people come in on video screen, and when they get to a certain point, he hit the horse.
The benevolent Oz.
Yes.
Behind the curtain. I used to be that guy. I used to hide in my my kitchen, and I'd have like 2 or 3 pneumatics out the front door, and I would just hit the buttons as people walked through.
Yeah.
I probably had more fun doing that than actually being out as an actor, like running around scaring people. But there was also a really cool grandfather clock costume. Was that all made out of like EVA foam?
No, well, it was basic structure was actually just poster board.
Foam core?
It was just foam core poster board. And with a little, we ended up having to add a little bit of wood structure after a couple of days of running it because it started to kind of fall apart. But yeah, it was just foam core boards with half-inch white beaded foam on top of it to kind of give it the layers and the dimensions.
And pool noodles, was it for the arms?
Yeah, the arms were pool noodles that were cut and stretched out. And all the rest of the whole head was just nothing but that foam core board.
Now that was in Kilpetto's. I'm trying to think of what else was in there that really stuck out at me. Well, you had this whole section that was in there that you had. It looked like some kind of grating, and then it turned into almost what looked like a prison cell. What did you use for that?
Yeah.
It was like towards the exit, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'd acquired that from a studio that was throwing stuff away, and just a big steel, like a equipment cage, and it's got a door in it, so we've used it for several different things, and it's one of the things that we have out in storage that we have in case we need it.
Constantly getting repurposed.
It got mangled in the flood, but we managed to rebend it back together. So
yeah, no. I heard you mention the flood earlier. Did you have some issues with your haunt?
Our haunt storage, where we keep our stuff, 2 years ago, it hit by a flash flood, and there was 5 feet of water that went through our haunt area where we keep everything. So we lost our horse-drawn hearse. We lost quite a bit of stuff that just. It picked up cargo containers that had stuff in it, and they came down and landed on some of our stuff, like the metal cage and stuff. When they moved the cargo container, our metal cage was underneath it, along with some other things. And the force of the water that came through, it just wholly moved. We have all of our walls all screwed together, so they're all kind of stationed, and so we don't have to worry about them blowing over. It actually literally picked up like a 20-foot long stack of walls and shoved them like 5 feet or 6 feet.
We found some of our stuff like a half a mile downstream.
Yeah. Some of our floors and stuff like this were mile downstream. That as we're driving up to see how bad the damage was, we're going, isn't that one of our walls? Isn't that one of our floors? Isn't that, stuff just went all over the place. And we lost, a lot of stuff. It took us months. Well, it happened right after the 1st of August, and we spent all of August, every spare minute out there, washing everything down, digging stuff out for a long time. Then we found out, then we had bees that embedded in the walls, killer bees. So then we had to deal with the bees and had to have bee people come out and get rid of the bees because we all got stung. And stuff. So that was the only year that we thought we weren't going to do the haunt. That was the year of the portal. And we thought, no, we just, it was 105 out there, and the humidity because of all the wet and the damp, it was unbelievable. We were all getting sick, and we had thought, no, we're just not going to do the haunt. And what we had to do is we had to move everything out of that area so they could regrade it and push everything back. And So
hose it all down because it was all under a foot or more of mud.
Yeah, everything was full of mud. Everything. That's why I said we have an organ there that it's never been pulled out. I mean, we pulled it out and cleaned it off as much as we could. But as we're finding out, the mud is still stuck there on so many things that we thought we cleaned very well. We brought over some stuff last year that I'm going, what is with all this mud still? I thought we got all of it out of here. And so we thought, okay, we need to, we're going to have to pull all this stuff out and push it all back when they get done. And we should do the responsible thing. We have two choices. We can do the responsible thing and not do Halloween and deal with this mess, or we can do the irresponsible thing and do Halloween. So we chose do Halloween. And so so we decided that's how the portal came about, is you were going to hell. We decided since we were in hell, we decided that's how that theme came up, is we decided we were...
You'll bring others with you. Everybody could join in your hell.
And we had the sound of the bees in there, so we incorporated some of the haunt stuff and stuff. We had the sound of the bees because of what we had just gone through with the bees and everything. So it was all in there.
We do have a whole new appreciation for people that have been through floods and lost their houses in floods.
Yeah. Yes.
It is probably almost the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have going on with the Midsummer Scream this year? What are you guys up to?
Well, this year's theme for Midsummer Scream is Tiki Terror. And so we're in the process of building volcanoes, and we're building an airplane. And for the display, we're going to try to build a talking tiki and various different ththings. We'll have a temple, and it's quite an ordeal that we're working on right now. Right now, we've already built about 30 or 40 walls for it, and
this is for cow haunts.
Yeah,
Hollow Shadows entrance.
Is this you're building a haunt inside the con? Is that what you're doing?
More or less. Part of Midsummer, you have a place that's called the Hollow Shadows, which there is. Last year there was like 12 or 13 mini haunts in there, and last year we had decided to do something different. The first year we just did a little display on both sides, and that was it. Last year we decided to add a little bit more, because we do the entrance as you go into the Hollow Shadow. Cow Haunts does the entrance
from the trade floor,
right? And it all gets built here because we have most of the equipment, so that's why everybody comes here. And Cow Haunts, we have a great group of Cow Haunts people that get together. We'll be here just about every weekend. They'll be working, and they worked every weekend last year building this thing. And last year's theme was Frankenstein. So we built all Frankenstein's lab, and you actually walked down through the Frankenstein's lab and stuff like that. So this year you'll walk into the jungle area, and where there'll be cannibals and all that kind of stuff in there.
All right. So where can people find you on, Facebook, Twitter? Where are you guys on as far as social media?
We're on Facebook at Rotten Apple 907. And we're on Instagram. It's the same, Rotten Apple 907.
We have Twitter too.
We have Twitter technically, but we don't use it.
You got a YouTube channel?
Yes, we have a YouTube channel, Rotten Apple 907 as well.
And RottenApple907.com.
Yeah, we have the website
for the dates for this 2019 season. And what everyone should do, if they have not done this yet, is go check out Epic Home Haunts.
Yes.
And you can see you prominently featured throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, that movie's an awesome movie. I mean, it really, Josh and Katie worked real hard to try to film what really goes on and stuff like that. And they live up north, and they came down every single, tons of weekends filming us for a couple years, us and all the other, people that were in there. So they put a lot of hard work and dedication into that.
The best movie about home haunters I've seen.
Yes,
granted, there's only a couple, but it is the best of the ones I've seen.
I mean, we're in another one, but this is the one that we really, appreciate. The other one was good too. I mean, it has its moments. I don't particularly care for part of it, but this one is really about home haunters.
It does us well.
Yes.
All right, great. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys taking the time, spending a few minutes with us here in the dungeon so we can hear your story.
Glad to do it.
I'm motivated now. I'm ready to build. Let's go build something.
Yes.
All right, take care.
Okay, you too.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please like and follow the podcast. Stalk us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links in the description. And help us by sharing Hauntcast with all your haunted Halloween brethren. Until next time, stay scary.